Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavijakacharya Ashtoto that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavijakacharya Ashtoto that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Shikshastika Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, today is a significant day. It is the anniversary of Balaram's Rasa Yatra. It is also the occasion for Krishna's Vasanta Ras. This is his springtime Rasa dance, I guess. And it is also the appearance day of Vamshi Vadana Thakur, who I couldn't find anything about him in the Samadhi's book. But Sri Shamananda Prabhu appearance day, and we're going to read about him, and then we're going to discuss Shikshastika and the chanting of the holy name. I was last to do that. Okay, so okay. Just 1 second here. Okay. Feeling very sad, Dukhi, over losing several children before his birth, Shamananda's parents named him Dukhi Krishnadas. Upon taking Diksha from Hriday Chaitanya, he became known as Krishnadas. In Vrindavan, he joined Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya to study the Goswami Granthas, or literatures, under Sri Jiva Goswami. Many, quote, ankle-ball stories describe how Krishnadas received Radharani's mercy, the name Shamananda, and his unique tilak mark. One of the accounts given in Navadvip Dham Parikram states, while living in Vrindavan, Krishnadas regularly swept the streets before dawn. He performed this humble service so that the Vaishnavas would not hurt their feet while walking to the temples. One morning he found a captivatingly beautiful golden ankle bracelet. When Lalita and Vishaka Sakis asked for the bracelet, Krishnadas said he would only give it to the original owner. Blindfolding Krishnadas, the gopis brought him to Srimati Radharani. She allowed him to put the bracelet on her ankle. But before fastening it, Krishnadas reverentially touched it to his forehead. This left a new tilak mark, which now distinguishes all of Shyamananda's followers. Quote, rejoicing over Krishnadas's transcendental fortune, Sri Jiva Goswami awarded him the name Shyamananda, one who pleases Srimati Radharani, who is also known as Shyama, or the servant of Shyamasundar Krishna, or it can mean that. Sometime after that, sometimes after Hridaya Chaitanya's disappearance, Shyamananda reappeared in a dream, Hridaya Chaitanya reappeared in a dream telling Shyamananda to preach. With the help of his foremost disciple, Rasikananda, Shyamananda profusely spread the worship and service of Gaur Nityananda all over Orissa. So this is all a quote. I'm not sure from whom here. 24-hour kirtan surrounds Shyamananda's Pushpa Samadhi, which is located on the opposite side of the street, running between Radha Shyamasundar and Radha Damodar temples in Vrindavan. Shri Shyamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Okay. So, I was asked to speak on the Shri Shikshashtaka, which we had a home program yesterday at Swati's house. I'm not sure who else owns that place, but she's there with her husband, and we had been there about several months ago for a program. And then when I walked in, I said, "Oh, I recognize this place." So very nice turnout, a lot of kids, and so we covered the first 4 verses of the. Actually, we covered the first 3, so we're going to start with verse 4 today. And I picked out a little section here. I want to read from. Okay.
Do you want to read the Bhagavatam verse first and then mention Shikshashtaka in the purport, or do you want to do that, or do you want to skip the Bhagavatam verse?
Okay, we can do the Bhagavatam verse. That'll be more orthodox. So let me just. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So on this 11th day of April 2025 in San Diego, is it the 11th? It is the 11th. 12th, I'm sorry. On this 12th day of April 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading today from the 8th canto, 6th chapter, text number 13. So in the interest of speeding things up, we're just going to read each line. I think you can pick it up. Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam Sarojanabhati charepsitartam Dristvagata nirvatam anjasarve Gajadavarta iva ganghamambaha Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam Sarojanabhati charepsitartam Dristvagata nirvatamandya sarve Gajadavarta iva gangam ambaha Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam Sarojanabhati charepsitartam Drishvagata nivritam adya sarve Gajadavarta iva gangam ambaha Tam tvam vayam nata samunjihanam. Sarojana bhati charipsitartham. Drishvagata nivratam adya sarve. Gajadavarta ivagangam ambaha. Tam tvam vayam nata samunjihanam. Sarojana bhati charipsitartham. Drishvagata nivratam anya sarve. Gajadavarta iva gangamambaha. Go over 9. Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam. Sarojana bhati charipsitartham. Drishvagata nivratam anya sarve. Gajadavarta hivagangamambaha. Ladies. Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam. Sarojana bhati charipsitartham. Drishvagata nivratam anya sarve. Gajadavarta iva gangamambaha. Tam tvam vayam nata samujjihanam. Sarojana bhati charipsitartham. Drishvagata nivratam anya sarve. Gajadavarta iva gangamambaha. Tam, O Lord, Tvam, your Lordship, Vayam, all of us, Nata, O Master, Samudrihanam, now appearing before us with all glories, Sarojanabha, O Lord, whose navel resembles a lotus flower, or from whose navel grows a lotus flower. Adichira, for an extremely long time. Ipsita, desiring. Artam, for the ultimate goal of life. Drishtva, seeing. Kataha, in our vision. Nivratam, transcendental happiness. Adya, today. Sarve, all of us. Gajaha, elephants. Dava-artaha, being afflicted in a forest fire. Eva, like. Gangamambaha, with water from the Ganges. Translation. So this is still, I think, Brahma speaking. After the Lord has appeared, he was praying for help because the demigods were had been defeated by the demons temporarily. So now the Lord has appeared. Elephants afflicted by a forest fire become very happy when they get water from the Ganges. Similarly, O my Lord, from whose navel grows a lotus flower, since you have now appeared before us, we have become transcendently happy. By seeing your Lordship, whom we have desired to see for a very long time, we have achieved our ultimate goal in life. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are always very eager to see the Supreme Lord face to face, but they do not demand that the Lord come before them, for a pure devotee considers such a demand to be contrary to devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches this lesson in his Shikshastaka. Adarshanan marmahatang korotuva. The devotee is always eager to see the Lord face to face, but if he is broken-hearted because he cannot see the Lord, even life after life, he will never command the Lord to appear. This is a sign of pure devotion. Therefore, in this verse, we find the word atichira ipsita artam, meaning that the Lord aspires, that the devotees aspire, meaning that the devotee aspires for a long, long time to see the Lord. If the Lord by his own pleasure appears before the devotee feels extremely happy, as Dhruva Maharaj felt when he personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord, he had no desire to ask the Lord for any benediction. Indeed, simply by seeing the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj felt so satisfied that he did not want to ask the Lord for any benediction. Swamin kritartosmi varanmayache. A pure devotee, whether able or unable to see the Lord, always engages in the Lord's devotional service, always hoping that at some time the Lord may be pleased to appear before him so that he can see the Lord face to face. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is very appropriate verse and purport, because the part of the Shikshastika which we're going to be focusing on is Lord Chaitanya's showing us how to pray and what is he praying for. And so first I'm just going to go through the English translation of the first 3 verses, and then we'll study the Nadanam Najanam Sundari. So, if you forgive me, put it into a little poem. It says the first verse, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge which will take us to a life goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. Then the next verse, Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too, your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace? Yet I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So, how to get the taste for the name? That's the third verse. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. So we discussed those verses last night at a home program. And now, Lord Chaitanya, he teaches us how to pray in the next 2 verses, actually 3 verses he's teaching us. So famously he says, I'm going to go line by line. Those who know it can repeat. Hopefully there's at least a few of you. You have the... Nadanang najanang nasundarim. Come on. Kabitang ba jagadish kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishware. Bhavatar bhakted hoituki tvahi. Wealth and women followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. So I'm going to read a little section from the Path of Perfection, in which Prabhupada quotes this verse. It's very short, and it'll just set things up nicely. Okay. So, here we go. The devotees of the Lord, pure devotees of the Lord, have no demands, personal demands. They are simply satisfied in serving Krishna for his satisfaction. They do not want anything in return. That is the characteristic of pure devotion. It was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who expressed this devotional attitude so succinctly, and then he quotes Nadanam Najanam Sundarim. And Prabhupada translate this way: Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want is only the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Close quote. In essence, this is the Bhakti Yoga system. So this is a very important verse. There are many examples of the pure devotional attitude. Once, Lord Nrsingadev told Prahlad Maharaj, now this was after Hiranyakashipu was killed, and after Prahlad Maharaj had offered his prayers, and then, so Nrsingadev wants to offer Prahlad something. So he says, my dear boy, you have suffered so much for me. Whatever you want, ask for it, I'll give it to you. So it's described there in the purport when, he could have asked a whole planet, unlimited wealth, whatever. So what did Prahlad answer? Being a pure devotee, Prahlad Maharaj refused to ask for anything. He said, my dear master, I am not carrying out mercantile business with you. I am not a vanik. Vanik means a merchant. I will not accept any remuneration for my service. This is the pure devotional attitude. Now before we go on, then he decided to ask for a benediction. You know what that benediction was? Please, my Lord, if you really want to give me a valuable benediction, then may material desires never grow in my heart. He asked for the absence of material desires. And then later on, of course, he asked that his father be delivered, and he said, well, so many generations before and after will be delivered just because of your pure devotion. But nothing personal. Yeah. Yogis and jnanis are demanding to become one with the Supreme because they have such bitter experience suffering the material pangs. They want to become one with the Lord because they are suffering in separation. A pure devotee, however, does not experience this. Although separate from the Lord, he fully enjoys the service of the Lord in separation. And this will become prominent as we go on with the Shikshastakam. The desire to become one with impersonal Brahman or to merge with God is certainly greater than any material desire, but this is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half-open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. Such yogis are desirous of material power, and that is their conception of the perfection of yoga. Actually, this is not the perfection of yoga, but a materialistic process. If one practices the regulative principles, If one practices the regulative principles of yoga, he can attain 8 kinds of perfection. He can become lighter than a cotton swab. He can become heavier than a great stone. He can immediately get whatever he likes. Sometimes he can even create a planet. Although rare, such powerful yogis actually exist. Vishwamitra Yogi wanted to beget a man from a palm tree. He was thinking, why should a man have to live so many months within the womb of his mother? Why can't he be produced just like a fruit? Thinking like this, Vishwamitra Yogi produced men like coconuts. Sometimes yogis are so powerful they can perform such acts, but these are all material powers. Ultimately, such yogis are vanquished because they can't retain these material powers indefinitely. Bhakti yogis are not interested in such powers. A pure devotee does not even want salvation. And this is in Nadanandanam, he said, Janmani. The salvationists want to be saved from rebirth, and the voidists also want to put an end to material life. Lord Chaitanya, however, requested only devotional service to Lord Krishna birth after birth. In other words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was prepared to endure material miseries in one body after another. What then was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire? He wanted to engage in God's service and nothing more, for that is the real perfection of yoga. So that's the end of our little excerpt here. So, so Lord Chaitanya is now teaching us in this verse and the next verse and even the next verse what to pray for when you're chanting Hare Krishna. This is the whole idea. Prabhupada was asked at the beginning of the Krishna consciousness movement, naturally, what is the meaning of this mantra? This Hare Krishna mantra. So Prabhupada described that it is simply an appeal to Krishna and Radharani for service. It's for menial service. That's the idea. To call out that please engage me in your service, take me, back to God and let me serve you eternally. So that's the Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim. Now the next verse is also in a similar vein. So I'll say, you say if you know it. Ainannatanu jakinkaram Patitam mam vishame bhavambodho Kripaya tava pada pankaja Stita dhuli sadrishang vachindaya. Okay. How does it start? Oh yeah. I'm getting old. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. Now clearly that's free of any material desire, you see. So he's recognizing, that we're fallen. For me, this is enough proof that we fell from the spiritual world. This is one verse of Lord Chaitanya. I've fallen from your service. Nanda Tanuja, the son of Nanda. So he's describing for all of us something that we can experience directly, the dangers and the suffering that are so prominent in this material world. And if we know the first thing in the Bhagavad Gita, we've read chapter 2, we know that it doesn't end with the body. And we take another body, another body, another body. We'd have countless bodies before. So this forest fire, which he describes in the first verse, this Bhava Mahadav Agni, the great forest fire of birth and death, is extinguished by the congregational chanting of the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya is teaching us in this verse how we should feel and how we should think when we chant the holy name. He's saying, I've fallen into the sea, I've been birth and death with countless births, suffering here. Now just please make me an atom at your lotus feet. In other words, eternal service to you. That's all I want as far as liberation goes. And as he said in the previous verse, even if I have to come back again, as long as I'm able to do that service, I'm satisfied. So this is the attitude of the pure devotee, and it's predicated on the previous verse, to be more tolerant than a tree. How can you be more tolerant than a tree? Pretty difficult. The tree goes through the blasting cold and scorching heat, doesn't utter a word. Have you ever heard the trees complaining? They're out there, No. And then if someone comes to chop them down, still you don't hear them complaining, Actually, Lord Krishna, in his wanderings with his friends, he praises the tolerance of the tree. The trees in Vrindavan, everywhere. So So how can you be tolerant like that? You can only be tolerant like that if you feel the connection to Krishna. That Krishna is present there, your remembrance of him gives you the strength to be tolerant. And it goes with the mercifulness. This is described by Kapila Deva, who's an incarnation of Krishna, in the 8 verses, which happens to be 8 verses, right near the beginning of his teachings to his mother, which I've dubbed the Sadhu Sangashtaka. 8 verses glorifying Sadhu Sangha. So, after describing how important it is to associate with the sadhus, he gives several verses describing the sadhus. The first one is very famous, and he's exactly talking about this. Tatikshava, karunika, suridaksava dehinam, ajata shattavakshanta, sadhavak sadhabhushanam. Here are the ornaments of character of the sadhus. First is tolerance. I didn't put this one in a poem yet. First is tolerant, tatikshava, and then merciful, karunika. And suridak sarva dehinam, a friend to all living entities. Prabhupada makes the point, not just human beings, cows and everyone. Even Prabhupada, some insect would come on his table and there's something, and he said, okay, encourage him to go out, and then don't swat him, Of course, the mosquitoes you can swat because they're attacking you with a weapon, that little thing. Anyway. So, but literally, especially the cows, and everyone, you don't feel enmity or indifferent to any living entity. And the mercifulness comes when, not only that way, but in trying to give people Krishna consciousness, which means that you're going to get all kinds of opposition. Prabhupada gives the example of Jesus Christ. He was crucified for the preaching, but he never gave it up, even though he knew it was dangerous. Ajata Shattavad, and has no enmity toward anyone. The great devotees, he doesn't hate anyone. Ajata Shattavad, and therefore, because of all these qualities, very peaceful, no material desires, always doing Krishna's work. So that's the ideal we want to aim for. And Krishna and Lord Chaitanya is describing it, that's more tolerant than a tree. Now, what's the advantage of that? Well, the backtrack just a minute to that verse, is that then that's a qualification for always chanting Hare Krishna. You see? Kirtaniya Sadahari. Now, I don't know if it was Lord Chaitanya, but I know it was Krishna's Kaviraj. He encouraged the readers of CC to take it around their neck, carry it. In other words, always remember this verse. This should be integral to our chanting Hare Krishna. This is the attitude we wish to chant. We're not chanting for anything material. We're chanting for the ability to always chant and to serve Krishna eternally. So what do we want? We want Krishna's service. And that's described, and we want to advance in that because it's fully satisfying. It's fully satisfying. And if in the course of that service, there may be so many difficulties, people may attack us. In the early days, I don't think it happens so much anymore, at least I haven't heard, devotees would get locked up for chanting on the street. It was happening not so much in America, but in Australia and England was happening. And then in Australia, some bishop or somebody said, no, this is a bona fide religion, and as soon as that happened, they stopped arresting the devotees. He saw the genuineness of it. But so Prabhupada said, well, what should we do, Prabhupada, when we get arrested? Just keep chanting. Chant in the jail. I'll tell you, I wasn't there. This is a famous story. In Bombay, this was after the temple opened, there was still a lot of opposition. After Prabhupada disappeared and everything. And they had organized a big crowd of like dacoits and lowlifes to come and attack the temple. So the devotees were out there, and we had hired some guards. So one guy was attacking, throwing things, and so he hit him on the head and he killed him. And they arrested a whole bunch of devotees. This wasn't a devotee who did it, but still the devotees were arrested and put in jail. So they were still in community. So Prabhupada, he said, remember the story in the Nectar of Devotion, where this one very pious devotee, he was making sweet rice, but he was very poor, so he couldn't do it actually. He was doing it in his mind. He was. You can imagine what an opulent feast you can make in your mind. Especially someone like Prema Priya, who knows so many recipes. If you're ever in that situation, you can have. So anyway, the devotees were there in the jail. They were, and the guards were looking at them. They're having the kirtan, then they're preparing the feast. All like there was nothing there, but they're still preparing. And then they're honoring the feast. And they're all in bliss because they're remembering. This is from Nectar of Devotion. One poor Brahmin was doing it. He was preparing sweet rice for the Lord, and he wanted to test to see if it was cold enough because it has to be cold. So he put his finger in it, but it was too hot, and it burned his finger. He came out of his trance and his finger was burned, And Narayan in the spiritual world was laughing, and the devotee was asking him, well, what are you laughing about? And he told the Brahman, then he brought him back on the airplane, it's going. But that's a very important point, that devotional service can be performed within your mind if there's no facility to do it externally, and you get the same benefit. So, the devotee is praying, and he's saying in this verse, Ainanda tanoja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam bodho. I've fallen into this horrible ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and make me a king of the... No. He said, please pick me up and just keep me eternally as a piece of dust at your lotus feet. That's the ideal. So you can see that any trace of material desire, by this time, the prayers are like progressive, is gone. Lord Chaitanya is teaching us by writing these verses what our inner attitude should be. Don't let the pride take over. Oh, I'm doing pretty well. I'm chanting 16 rounds every day. No, that's fatal for the attitude. We always have to keep ourselves in a humble position. And so that's one prayer. Then the next prayer, he's praying for perfection, for emotion and symptoms. So he's saying it's like this. Those who know it can repeat after me. Nayanam gadadashadaraya vadanam gadadudhayagira pulaka nichitang vapukada tavanama gahane bhavishyati tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs as I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns? You see? So here, praying for advancement, that you'll feel ecstatic emotion. Not just that it'll be situated nicely in service, but that it'll be situated in service and there'll be growing love for Krishna, you see, which is there from purity, and that it'll experience these emotions and these symptoms which you read about in the Shastra. So he's praying for, we can pray like that, you know. There's a beautiful prayer to Lord Nrsingadev by Prahlad Maharaj, which we referred to. This happens after he appears, but there's another set of prayers, 4 or 5, I forget how many, when in the 5th canto of Prahlad, when the residents of Jambudvip offer prayers. And I like to point out, when I had the great good fortune of working on this book in the marathon to produce 17 books in 2 months. Some of you may not have heard of that. That was like, it was impossible. Humanly impossible. You probably wanted it done, and so somehow the devotees did it. So I was part of that. So I'm working on this prayer, and then I read the purport. I'm at the end of the purport, and Prabhupada said, any devotee who wants to be free of material desires should offer the prayer to Nrsingadev as Prahlad did in this prayer. I said, oh, this is such an important prayer. So I memorized it. It's not a verse, it's actually prose, but it's got a beat to it. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasinghaya Namastejas Tejase Avadavir Bhavavaddanakabhaddadankshta Karma Shayan Randaya Randayatamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhiyam Abhiyam Atmani Bhuhishta Om Kshram. Now that last syllable is Nrsingadev's, what do you call those little syllables? That invokes. If you do any deity worship, there's little syllables at the beginning. Aing for the Guru, Kleem for Krishna. Bij mantra, yeah. So that's Shram. Now you can hear it. He's ripping apart Hiranyakashipu. Can you hear? Shram. It's not like clean, which is that's a Radha and Krishna, sort of stream and clean. So anyway, what this verse means is, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasinghaya, I offer my obeisance unto Narasingadev. Namastejas Tejase, I'm basing unto you, the most powerful of the powerful. There's a lot of repetition, as you probably heard. That's a sign of high ecstasy, Namastejas Tej, Avid Avir Bhava, please be manifest in my heart. Vajranaka, Vajradangstra, and with your thunderbolt-like teeth and thunderbolt-like claws, tear apart all the material desires in my heart. It's very graphic, Vajranaka, Karma Shayan is the hope for material pleasure. Randaya, rend it, tear it apart. Randaya, Tamo Grasa, Grasa Om Swaha. Please dissipate the darkness in my heart. Tamo Grasa Om Swaha. This is the oblation, like in a fire sacrifice. Abhayam. In this way, give me fearlessness. Please give me fearlessness. Abhayam Atmani Bhuhishta Om Shraum, and remain in my heart. And it's like that. So it's very graphic, and that's the same prayer that he offers later on, later on. But when Nrsingadev offers us something, Prabhupada referred to it in the little reading. He prayed that, please, if you want to give me a benediction, just make sure that I never have any material desires. So this is a real devotee's prayer. The same thing for Dhruva. Dhruva Maharaj, he started out with all material desires. It was like almost a little childish, He was insulted, said, I'll get her, I'll go get a better kingdom than Brahma. He was going out. So Narada Muni's, and he's Dhruva. Dhruva means very, very fixed and determined. That's the name. And so he meets Narada Muni, and Narada Muni says, he tests him. He says, you're too young, you come back later, I'll teach you all about yoga. So he says, thank you very much, O great soul, but if you can't help me, I'm going anyway. So the little boy, 5-year-old boy, is going into the forest. So now I said, okay. So then he teaches him, he gives him yoga to perform, but there's a lot of bhakti mixed in. He's chanting the holy name, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He's doing rudimentary deity worship also. He's out in the forest. And he's performing severe austerity, so much so that he entrained the whole breathing of the universe. And the demigods went to Vishnu and said, he's practically stopped breathing. We can hardly breathe, because he had coordinated breathing with the universal breathing. So Vishnu comes down. You know, there's little Dhruva. He's meditating and chanting his mantra, and he opens his eyes, and there's his worshipful deity, you know, Vishnu, standing before him, and he's ecstatic, you know. All symptoms are coming. And then, so then the key verse, and it's in the same mood here, you know. And he has this famous verse, Prabhupada always quotes the last line of it, sometimes all of it. It says, Stana bilashi tapatististoham tvam praptavan devamanindra guhyam. Kacham vachinvanapi divyaratnam swaman kratatos mivadangniyache. Says, I was situated in penance, stana bilashi, in very severe austerity. Tapasistitoham. Wanting to get this kingdom, you know, but now I've gotten you, Tvam Praptavan, who are hidden away even from the greatest yogis, you see. Deva Munindra Guyam, he's hidden, you know, it's hard to see you. So now I realize that kingdom, Brahma's kingdom, was like kacham, broken glass. I was searching for broken glass, but now I received the divine jewel of your darshan. I'll be Divya Ratnam. And what's the result? Swaman, oh Master, Swaman Katotos Mivadang Niyache. I don't want anything else. I'm not praying to you for anything. Just seeing you is everything, you know. So that's the evolution of desire. This is what bhakti is the purification of desire and finally the development of our original desire. Remember, this is who we originally are, to be a completely selfless servant of Krishna and take pleasure in his pleasure. I like to quote this line. This is a condensed version of the famous verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu near the beginning. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma janavatam anukurena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. What is this uttama bhakta? To have no other desire. Anya bilashita shunyam, devoid of material desires. 3 categories. Jnana, karma, janavatam, 2 and etc. Jnana, a desire, means desire for liberation. And karma means desire for material things, wealth and fame and things like that. Which covers, you see, what covers your pure desire, if it's polluted by that. Anavritam. Then what is it? That's what it's not. Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. To perform activities favorable for the service of Krishna at all times. This is Uttama Bhakti. And it's condensed even shorter into one line from one of the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami, which is quoted in the purport in the 2nd canto. Bhajaniya Padamapurusha Sukhamatra Swasukatvam. That's the whole thing right there. Bhajaniya Padamapurusha is the worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Padamapurusha is the Supreme Person. Bhajaniya, who's worshipable. Bhajaniya Padamapurusha Sukhamatra. Only his sukha, only his happiness. Sukhatvam. Take one's own happiness only and solely in that happiness of the Lord. That's pure devotion. Now, in our material state, immediately we say, well, what about me? How am I going to get happiness? But what you don't know in a material state, that in that mood, performing service for Krishna is the highest bliss, is the highest happiness. And one way to understand it is by, from the Vedanta Sutra, this famous sutra says, Anandamaya Bhyasat, that Krishna is always full of bliss, you see? Which makes sense. If you were God, wouldn't you always want to be full of bliss? Or we say, no, let's throw in a little misery here and there. No. And what is that bliss? That's coming from all of the Leela that he's performing with the relationship of love and between his devotees in the spiritual world and when he comes to the material world. So we can take part in that. We're part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, we're also meant to be always blissful. But we can only be always blissful when we retake or again engage in our constitutional position, our swarup, which is to be a Krishna servant, just like the hand is my servant, right? As long as I'm in the body. I don't think, now hand, now I don't want you to be recalcitrant. Now go and pick up that water. Nah, I'm not going to. No, he doesn't do that. Right? So just like that, and the hand is nicely situated. They can put the food in the mouth and get strength from the body, and everything's fine. So we're meant to be like that, as attendant to Krishna desires as possible. And then we get all the benefits. That's our constitutional position. Now we're in an unnatural position, separate. We have these material bodies, which are, as Prabhupada says in many places, are the origin of all suffering. the material bodies. But we can get a little fleeting pleasure, and so that keeps us coming back, but that's foolish. By getting the knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that the more we try to please ourselves, the more suffering we'll get. Because it'll mean, we have to take another birth to fulfill the unfulfilled desires, and there's so many things. But the more that we turn our attention to Krishna, thinking, glorifying, serving, the more peaceful and happy we will be. So that's he's saying that. Now the last two verses, and I'll just do those briefly. I'm sorry, I'm going over time. These are actually spoken by Radharani, Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani, completely. So you say, Yugaitam Nimeshena Chakshusha Prabhashahitam Shunyaitam Jagatsavam Govinda Vidahena Me. So this Vidahena is the separation mood, It seems like the most painful suffering, but it's the highest happiness. It's paradoxical. So she says, every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes, the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. Oh, Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. Now, if you read when you read the Anchal Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see that Lord Chaitanya was always manifesting this kind of mood when he stayed in Jagannath Puri for 12 years. He had his intimate associates like Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar, and they were singing songs and helping him in this mood. And it seems like, the greatest pain, he's in, But actually it's the highest pleasure. This intense longing for Krishna, you're thinking about him every moment, when will he appear, Yugaitam Nimeshena. So this is beyond our pay grade, at this point. But it's amazing to contemplate that this is what's going on in the spiritual world. You think about it. Krishna goes out to the forest. The gopis are pining for him all day. They don't get to see him. And then finally, it starts to get late afternoon. They go up to the top of the house. There's a little arrangement there where they can see far. Yashoda's up there. She's also in separation. And then they see a little cloud. Is that the cows? Do you hear that? Is that the flute sound? And then for like all that time, he's coming back, and he says, he's coming. And there's a whole ashtaka about that. There's whole chapters of it describing it. But this verse is quoted, Upetya pata sundari tatabadabada vyarchitam. So when he appears, the gopis, smile at him. They greet him, and he's reciprocating with them like that. Sidelong glances, just as he's walking back into the cow pen. But they're so happy that he returned. Mother Yashoda, she feeds him and puts him, like that. So that's the life in Goloka. Is wonderful association and service and exchange of love, and then separation. At which point you're thinking even more intensely about him. What's he doing? Did he hurt his foot by hitting a pebble? And the gopis are in anxiety all day because he refuses to wear shoes unless all the cows can have shoes. He has 100,000 cows, and that's just Nanda Maharaj's cows. so they give up on that. But of course, the ground is also alive, so everything becomes very soft. There's no pain. But they're thinking like that. So that's the 7th verse, and then the 8th verse is immortal expression of this pain. And then the key line is at the end. Despite all of this, I still love him. So she says, Ashli Shiva Pararatang Pinashtumam Adarshanan Marmahatang Korotava Yatata Dava. How's it? How's it go? Okay. Yatata Dava Vibdantu Lampato Mat Prananata Susahevana. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet. Or let him trample me, or my most ardent hopes defeat, by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint. So let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. So this is the epitome, this is the top of the mood of Srimati Radharani. She's, Krishna's, the whole Leela is fraught with that. If you read any of the books, like with Dr. Madhav and so forth. I remember we went to Lalita's birthplace once when I was in Vrindavan, and there's an Ashtaka, 8 verses about Lalita that Rupa Goswami composed, and I put it into poetry. If you're interested in the poetry, send me an email. You don't even have to put anything in the email. Just put in the subject matter, poetry, and then I'll send you my poetry file. So it's in there. And it's all about Lalita, who's like the closest friend of Radharani, And she's always watching out for Radharani. So Krishna and Radha, they'll have a gambling match, or something. And she's watching carefully, and sometimes Krishna tries to cheat. And then she starts berating him. And so, you cheater, like that. And it's described how Krishna loves that so much, That, she only does that because she's such an advanced, that she feels she can do it, and she knows Krishna likes it. So it's very hard to understand because a lot of things that don't really tally with our ordinary human emotions. So, but that's what she's saying. He says he's separate. He stays away from me, and he's corroding my heart, After all, he's a libertine. What can I do, But there's no one else. He is my eternal one. And then Lord Chaitanya gives a commentary on it in the CC. It's there, very famous. And there's one part of it I remember. It says Radharani is saying, if Krishna wants to be with another gopi, then I'll go to that gopi and take her hand and bring her to Krishna. She says like that, But there's also a lot of rivalry between her and Chandravali. It's a different moods. It's like all these different tastes, and it's all part of the rasa. So that's way beyond where we can imagine now. But that's Lord Chaitanya spoke it, and it's compiled now in the Pajavali and came into the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All right, it's very late. I'm sorry we went over time, but any comments, questions, real quick? Mukunda Prabhu.
Well, I just had one comment because I thought it was quite nice how I was asking Balaram Prabhu because I was kind of late to know about some of the details with this event. And then I was asking Balaram Prabhu about your talks and so on. And he said, well, he's supposed to speak on, Harinam and Shikshastakam on Saturday morning. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll look and see if it's relevant at all with the verse and so on. And then, yeah, sure enough, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks on Shikshastakam, and specifically the second half, specifically the eighth verse of Shikshastakam. And I can't think of the last time we had any Shikshastakam. It's definitely been months since we've had any Shikshastakam reference in a purport. And certainly there aren't so many where he includes the 8th verse of Shikshastakam, in a purport. So it was quite amazing.
A miracle.
I thought it was so sweet. Yeah, I thought it was really sweet
arrangement. These are faith-building, accidents.
Yeah. Yesterday also, Avadut Chandra Prabhu, he gave class, and he recently, he's a disciple of Vaisheshika Prabhu, and he's there with Bhaktivedanta Swami's disciples in Atlanta. And he's just dedicated his life to learning about and developing some cow protection program. And then yesterday we had one of the most extensive cow protection, cow protection endorsing, milk drinking endorsing, purports in the Bhagavatam. Right. And it happened to be the one day that he's here in San Diego in his whole life to give class, and that's the purport that he got. So today also I thought it was really nice. That's
all right, so I have to ask now, who didn't hear yesterday's class? Most of you, right? Okay, so there's a few of you. I'm just going to tell my little miracle. There's another miracle. We had a lady here. Kanai remembers. Her name was Vajravadu, and she joined. Near the beginning when the temple was started. She came up. She lived in Mexico. I think she was American. She came up and she never left. She stayed here for 30 years, and so she was in her 90s now when I came. And then she even got older as I stayed here. So she's a lot of wonderful things that she did, but she was on Social Security, and she would give a good portion of it every month for cow protection to the different farms we had in America, So Lodley, bless her soul, she took up the role of caring for her as she got older. She had to be in a little home and everything, and it's like that. So, but Lodley was able to take her on a tour of the farms in America. I know they went to at least 2, to Gitanagari and the Taliban, and some others, smaller ones. So I heard this. I didn't see it, but I heard it. And someone told me there's some pictures of it that we can get. So they went to Taliban. There's a lot of cows there, very successful cow protection program, you know. And she contributed there. So she went out into the pasture where the cows were. And a whole bunch of cows, they gathered around her, you know, as if they knew her. But I don't know if they got mail or something. I mean, how do they know? But there she was, you know, and I don't know if she was able to, maybe she was able to pet some of the cows, you know. But these things happen, and it's nice that they happen like that, because it builds your faith. Yes, you know, Krishna's out there, and it's really happen. So there's wonderful stories like that. Okay, I think we have to adjourn. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Oh, one thing, one little addendum. If you're interested, this Shikshastika, I did that poem. In 2005, just 20 years ago, I was in Mayapur, and I was asked to sing it, you know, and so I did, and I didn't know it was recorded, but it was recorded, and it's been on YouTube for a long time. If you want to check it out, you just get onto YouTube, and in the search, Dravida, D-R-A-V-I-D-A, space, Mayapur, and it'll take you to that, and then you can hear it. I've got Vyasaki, he's my side man, Indra's behind me, and behind him is Radhanath Swami, and then anyway. I didn't ask, but, and our own Vrindavan was there. He was about 18 years old, if that. He was there playing.